The flashing red and blue lights lit up my quiet driveway at midnight last month. Karen had actually called 911 claiming my house color was destroying the entire neighborhood vibe. I stepped outside in my pajamas, feeling equal parts shock and rising irritation building inside. The two officers looked embarrassed as they explained her ridiculous complaint about emotional distress. I could not believe this woman had escalated a paint job to a police emergency call. My name is Brian, and I had moved to this suburban HOA paradise 6 months earlier for peace. After a brutal divorce, I wanted a fresh start in a place with green lawns and friendly waves. I painted my new house a cheerful sunny yellow that made me smile every single morning. The color reminded me of warm summers and finally feeling alive again after years of gray city life. But Karen, the HOA president, had other plans from the very first day she spotted it. She marched up my walkway one bright afternoon with her official clipboard clutched like a sword. "Your house is simply too bright and it violates every aesthetic standard we hold dear here," she declared. I stayed polite and pulled out my copy of the HOA rules to check the guidelines carefully. The bylaws listed yellow as acceptable, yet she insisted her personal discretion overruled everything written down. I nodded and promised to consider her feedback while already sensing the control freak storm brewing ahead. Over the following weeks, the complaints flooded my mailbox with increasing fury and frequency. First came the official violation notice demanding I repaint within 30 days or face daily fines. Then she began her drive-by surveillance, slowing her car every evening to glare at my sunny walls. She started spreading quiet rumors at block parties that I was uncooperative and harming property values. Neighbors who once waved now avoided my eyes and whispered behind their perfectly trimmed hedges. The pressure built slowly until I felt the whole suburb closing in around my once happy home. I decided it was time for the perfect petty revenge that would shut her down without breaking rules. I drove to the hardware store and picked the drabbest, most soul-crushing shade of gray imaginable. The paint guy even laughed when I called the color Depressing gray design to kill all joy. That Saturday morning, I set up my ladder with a grin the neighborhood would never forget. The thick smell of fresh gray paint mixed with morning dew as I rolled the first stroke. Layer after layer turned my cheerful yellow house into something straight out of a gloomy film set. Neighbors peeked through curtains, some shaking heads while others secretly filmed the transformation unfolding. Karen must have heard the news because she stormed over by noon with pure rage on her face. "What on earth do you think you are doing to this community, Brian?" she screeched from the sidewalk. I paused mid-roll with the paint roller dripping and gave her my sweetest, most innocent smile. "I am simply complying with your demand for a less bright color, Karen," I replied smoothly. "This depressing gray should completely kill the vibrant vibe you hated so much. Do you not agree?" She sputtered threats about emergency board meetings and immediate fines, but I just kept painting calmly. The harassment ramped up fast after that with more letters and anonymous late-night phone calls. She even started a petition claiming my new gray depressed everyone and lowered the whole street value. Then came the night the police showed up because she reported me for creating a public nuisance. The officers listened to her wild claims about mental health impacts from my dull gray walls. I stood there recording every word on my phone while trying hard not to laugh out loud. This was not really a police matter, the lead cop told her, trying to stay professional. Karen refused to back down and demanded they issue a citation on the spot for my crime. That moment crystallized everything, and I knew I had to start collecting ironclad evidence immediately. Every email, every recorded conversation, and every selective fine went into my growing digital folder. I documented how she ignored her friends' violations while hammering me for the smallest details. Her own house featured a bright red door that screamed against the very rules she enforced daily. Weeks of quiet preparation passed as her attacks grew more desperate and unhinged by the day. Then Karen made the fatal mistake that handed me the perfect weapon to end her little empire. She left a heated voicemail threatening to sue me personally and calling me a menace to society. I saved the recording, forwarded everything to the full HOA board with a detailed written report. The emergency board meeting was set for Tuesday evening and I arrived early with printed proof. The room felt electric with tension as I stood up and laid out the facts one by one. Karen interrupted, constantly claiming I exaggerated, but the board members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. I showed timestamps of her threats and evidence of selective enforcement that favored only her allies. One member finally asked her directly why her own bright red door still violated the bylaws. She stammered and tried to deflect, but the room had already turned against her completely. By the end of the 2-hour session, the vote came back unanimous and decisive. Karen was officially removed as president for clear abuse of power and multiple bylaw violations. A wave of relieved murmurs swept through the neighbors who had grown tired of her daily tyranny. I walked out into the cool evening air, feeling deep satisfaction settle over me like warm sunshine. The new board quickly dropped all my fines and promised fair enforcement from now on. My depressing gray house still stands today as a quiet monument to perfectly executed petty revenge. Neighbors wave again and the street feels lighter without her clipboard patrols ruining every weekend. I sip my morning coffee on the porch and chuckle at how one can of paint changed everything. Karen learned the hard way that small-time power trips always crumble when evidence stacks against them. Who knew killing the vibe with Depressing Gray could actually bring real justice to our quiet suburb? In the end, the neighborhood thrives and I finally enjoy the peaceful life I came here for.